Welcome to the Where Are They Now show, the Canadian Historical Event Edition. I'm your host, Clarisse Ramos, and with me today is Paul Martin Sr., the head Secretary of Canada from 1946 to 1947. This afternoon, I will interview him on his contributions to the Canadian Citizenship Act of 1947.
Thank you for having me over for this interview. What questions do you have for me?
Well, for starters, what exactly is the Canadian Citizenship Act of 1947?
The Canadian Citizenship Act of 1947 is an act of Parliament that separated and distinguished Canadian citizenship from British nationality. This act was brought up to Parliament on June 27, 1946 and became effective immediately on January 1, 1947 under the government of Prime Minister William Lyon Mackenzie King.
Very interesting. Now, what makes an individual eligible for Canadian citizenship?
Canadian citizenship was granted to British subjects born in Canada who had not become an enemy alien before 1947. These people must have lived in Canada for at least 5 years as a landed immigrant with an adequate knowledge of either the French or English language.
This seems to apply only to men. How did women and children earn their citizenship?
Women were given Canadian citizenship if they had entered Canada before 1947 or were married to a Canadian man. Children were eligible only if they were born to a Canadian father.
Moving on, under what circumstances can a man, woman, or child lose their Canadian citizenship?
In general, anyone could lose their citizenship if they had lived outside of Canada for 10 years without notifying the government of their departure. Loss of citizenship can also occur in cases where a citizen with dual citizenship refuses to give up their foreign nationality.
Aside from the requirements outlined in this act, how did you come up with the Canadian Citizenship Act itself?
I came up with the Canadian Citizenship Act during my visit to a cemetery at Dieppe. I had come across the idea of separate Canadian citizenship as I pondered on the status of all the soldiers who had served their country and were buried there. Upon my return, I decided to incorporate into law on what exactly defines a Canadian.
Wow, this is fascinating. For my last question, I want to know the reason behind the establishment of the Canadian Citizenship Act. As in, why did you create this act in the first place?
Well, the Canadian Citizenship Act was created in order to express Canada's sense of national identity after World War II. Many people believed that Canada's victory at Juno Beach had strengthened Canada's reputation as a nation.
Is there anything else you want to add on to your reasoning?
Yes, now that you've mentioned it, this act was also created in order to maintain a sense of unity among Canada's diverse population due to the people's desires of yearning for symbols that best describe Canada as an independent country.
Thank you so much for being with me here today. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot about the roots of Canadian citizenship.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure being interviewed by you.
This concludes today's segment of the Where Are They Now show. Hope you had a great time tuning in. Thank you and goodbye.